Alrighty, what is up? What is up, everybody? Everybody in the putty? I don't know if I should have my mic that close. It's probably a bit too freaking close there, mate. So, before I get into the video, just make sure everything's clean and clear. Honestly, you know what? I low-key feel like not doing that. Right, looks like we are good on the audio and the video side. A little bit of lag going on there, but that's nothing to be not expecting when it comes to my videos. So yeah, let's just get straight into it because this is going to be a quick one. I just wanted to kind of bring a little bit of perspective that I shared the other day with my, I don't like that word, friend, person that I was with, my associate. That sounds very surface level and business. But yeah, just the person that I was with the other day, we were talking and it brought me to this concept that I like to use on myself and I like to think of. And it is obviously by the title. Whenever I'm disliking someone's art, whenever I'm finding myself, especially severely disliking someone's art, or just disliking someone's art in general, it makes me like it even more, even sometimes to the point of loving it. I love the fact that I dislike it because when I'm disliking something, it shows that person is in an individual space and then they're not actually worrying about how how it's presented. They're not worrying about it coming across as relatable or likable. They're just trying to create from their truest expression. And sometimes that might be heavily disliked by people. So for me, when I find myself disliking someone's art, and even amongst like some other things too, but generally it's art, but you know, it could apply to other things. Certain certain things though that I find myself disliking, obviously that's a different story. Like let's say I don't like the way that someone is relating to me, you know, or I don't like the way that someone's communicating. Those are those are completely different stories. But yeah, it shows to me that they're actually expressing their uniqueness and they're not worrying about putting it through any filters or trying to put it in a framework which is more acceptable among the masses. You know what I mean? So it just gives me that more love and appreciation for whatever they're doing because I'm able to see that they're actually in that space of expressing their trueness, you know, expressing their true state of being, which to me is what art's all about. And I find that the most beautiful thing ever, you know. So when someone's actually doing that, as opposed to, you know, another artist who might be less focused on trying to express their uniqueness and more focused on how they can make their uniqueness appealing or likable or acceptable among a large group of people. And you know, arguably, either way, it's still creativity and it's still their uniqueness in some way, shape, or form, right? but I'm seeing it more from a perspective where this is more truly unique if they're able to just bar all that shit and just scrap it, you know what I mean? And then just create and just see what comes out of that. That is what I love, truly. So, like ugly shit, like I've always been a fan of that kind of stuff. Like real ugly, just raw, real unappealing, like you name it. Even down to fashion. Like I didn't used to be like this, but nowadays, especially, I feel like because I'm tapping more into my uniqueness on a personal level, I'm more attracted or drawn to things that are asymmetrical or like ripped clothes. I used to think was kind of like, what the fuck is that? Nowadays, I'm like, ripped clothes, yes, give me more. Like, I'm craving for it, you know what I mean? Rip everything in my wardrobe, please. Like, you know what I mean? And that's just kind of, I feel like, ties into the whole energy of just really appreciating the realness and the rawness of shit and just seeing it like in its most real raw form because perfection and all that kind of stuff is not always true. Some things can be close to that energy, but it's not always the actual case. And especially in this world, a lot more things are less perfect or, more raw or asymmetrical or, whatever word you want to term it. And so to me, that's kind of the beauty of life. And when you can kind of see that in other things, such as art, or such as, you know, other things beyond art as well, it just emulates, just emulates more of that beauty that I really appreciate from life. So yeah, that's another little thought that I had amongst those and just really brought me into perspective or brings me into perspective whenever I think about that. Or whenever I find myself disliking someone's creation or disliking someone's art. It just makes me love that shit. So it's like people say you like it, I love it, or something's like I dislike it, I love it. It's like that kind of energy. But yeah, when I mentioned it to my friend the other day, oh my fuck, this yawning man. My associate the other day, it was like really eye-opening for her. She was like, wow, I really love that perspective. And I hadn't really fully thought about it on that perspective, on that aspect that she kind of brought to my awareness as she was reacting to it. I was like, yeah, that is a pretty cool perspective. Like, I didn't really think, like, I knew it was unique, definitely. Like, but I didn't think much of it. And then I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll just post and share this on a video. Maybe it might kind of bring another perspective to someone else in a similar way that it did for her. Because each one teach one and all that good shit. So, and then also beyond that, it just kind of brings me home, brings me back to that point of like people tuning into stuff because of what's it called? Sorry, I just got distracted. My sister came in and she was checking on me. But yeah, it brings me back to that thought of like people tuning into their uniqueness and just having like that real raw perspective without actually worrying too much about like what's like correct or what's you know true or like obviously truth is important, don't get me wrong, but it's more like having that certainty, having that conviction, no matter what, through thick and thin. Just be, just being able to stand firm and fixate on your own way of seeing, feeling, thinking, making sense out of the world around you. And so when you do fixate on your own energy like that, it just gives you that much more power because you're using your faith, belief, and imagination, and you're manifesting more certainty. So it's like kind of like the other side of that coin, or the other side of that energy, where I was just saying about art, but this is more in terms of perspectives, opinions, ways of being, when I see people that are so sure and so convicted with their own perspective, their own opinion, it makes me respect them a lot more, even if I might disagree with them, and that's kind of the similar energy with the whole art thing, because I know that they're one, being unique and thinking for themselves, regardless of if what they think is completely wrong. I respect that they're able to stand strong in their opinions and they're able to remain, you know, they're not folding basically. They're not folding and they're not giving in to the external. And so for me, that's really respectable. And also, I know that that leads to a more positive space as opposed to, not straight, not standing strong in your own opinions. But you may be right, because I've been in that space myself. And that's just going to lead you down a more toxic way of being. And you're not really going to get very far with that. You're just going to keep having to look for reassurance, validation, and all that shit. As opposed to if you just give yourself the validation, regardless of if you actually genuinely think you're right or not. Just genuinely believe that you're right in general and put faith and belief into that, then things will work out for you in your favor in general. So that's how I prefer to see it and how I've seen it play out in my reality as well as others. You know, when you have that conviction and that certainty and you're just unique, you see things from your own perspective, or you express your art from your own perspective, it just makes things that much more beautiful and that much more solidified because you're using your manifestation power, you're using your own ability as a spirit to create things and bring things into reality. And therefore, you're going to be on your fucking way to living your best life, babes. And that's all it's about, you know. But when you're like unsure, you have to constantly look for validation. You have to, you know, search for external things